I'm Monica Weldon, and I am the mother of Beckett, and I'm also the president, CEO, founder of Bridge the Gap SYNGAP Education and Research Foundation. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how SYNGAP1 links and kind of is related to so many other disorders in the rare disease community. Well, SYNGAP1, after all, is a single gene mutation, but you have to understand that genes don't act alone. Genes work in a cascade. So it's like the domino effect. When one gene's not working right and it has to talk to the gene next to it, it's going to affect it in some form, way, or fashion. So for example, SYNGAP1 is actually linked molecularly to Fragile X through other genes they talk to together. We don't know exactly how, but if we were to find a treatment, say for Fragile X, maybe it could help the patients in SYNGAP1 or vice versa. So when we're looking at those different types of gene mutations and the whole spider web, basically, if you looked at it on a map, you can see the connections and the points that lead to and around SYNGAP1. Angelman's syndrome, for instance, possibly linked to SYNGAP1. Phelan-McDermott syndrome, which is SHANK3, which is the name of a gene that causes Phelan-McDermott syndrome, is right next door into the gene line of SYNGAP1. So when we're talking about how genes interact with each other and the proteins and how they interact in the cell, when something's off, it's going to imbalance itself. Strokes, for instance. There was a new paper that came out in November of 2017 that talked about strokes and the levels of SYNGAP in the brain. Well, why? Well, we need to investigate that more. And so our patient group can possibly provide the data for that. And that's why we can not only help our own patient group, but we're looking at how we can help so many other related disorders, such as Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. These are all neurodegenerative disorders. In Huntington's disease, one of the markers that shows the onset of the disorder is the decrease of SYNGAP in the brain, most likely due to the fact that the cell is dying, but it's an indication that something is going wrong. So it's very important to realize all these different mechanisms of the biology of SYNGAP1 and how it relates to everything. So I'm hoping that one day that we can drive the science, not just to help our own children and our own adults with the SYNGAP1, but we can help other disorders that are involved, especially in the rare disease community, because it is so difficult to find people and industry to support just one little organization that's just for one thing. But SYNGAP1 is not just about one thing. It is about taking our one thing and making it help other things in the path for our organization. So that's our biggest mission in the long run.